7:44, we continue with our opportunity to chat with local mayors in Metro Vancouver and Port Coquitlam. Mr. Greg Moore joining us back here on the couch. Great to have you back on BT.
Thanks for having me here.
You are ending a 10-year reign, which we're going to talk about the decision to leave in a second, but I want to talk about what's top of mind right now with a board meeting coming up, and as the chair of the Metro Vancouver board, a passionate debate sparked about tax-free retirement allowances. It was an idea suggested about a month ago. What did you learn from the experience, and what did you learn from the response that you received?
You know, one of the things that we were trying to do, the federal government made a change to the tax rules that 1/3 of our income right now is tax-free. And so if we didn't make any change, the next mayor of Port Coquitlam or mayor of Toronto is going to reduce their income by 15%. I don't think that's fair to see our politicians taking a net, what you look at in the bottom right corner of your paycheck, going down by 15%. It's tough enough to get good people to run for politics, never mind reduce their pay. So we were trying to adjust that. Then we were also looking at a retirement allowance at Metro Vancouver, and we were going to look at what people in our organization and most government employees get for a retirement allowance, or they get a pension. This was just a one-time allowance, and also give that to future current, as well as future directors. And, I've gone through 3 remunerations, whether it's at the City of Poco or Metro Vancouver, independent group giving recommendations and adopting them, doing it yourself. It never goes well. People don't think that it's a good idea that someone gets to put up their hand for their own remuneration. Sure, we can debate that at some point, but that's the legislation that we live in. So what I learned about it is I'm glad that we have the ability to reconsider our decisions, because people were obviously unhappy with this. So this Friday we're going to reconsider that decision, and I suspect that it will fail.
Mayor Moore, there are so many major transportation projects kind of coming soon or in the next several years. We've got a new Patello Bridge, talks of a replacement for the Massey Tunnel, light rail in Surrey. What's commuter life for Poco residents, and what could make it better?
All of those things. When we're looking at major infrastructure around this region, it affects everyone. So let's, we're in Vancouver right now. Let's look at the Broadway line. That's good for Port Coquitlam, because you can get on the Evergreen line in Coquitlam. In Poco, you're 1 bus away from the Evergreen line. You can get onto it. Now you'll get all the way to Arbutus. And then hopefully the next phase gets you to UBC. My daughter goes to UBC right now. Luckily, she lives out there, but when she comes home on the weekend, it's a bus, it's a train, and it's a bus to get home. It's an hour and 20 minutes to do that. In the future, it'll be less than an hour with one train, basically, from our community. So all of these projects have regional significance to every community.
How do we do it in the most affordable way? Because cost of living for taxpayers is through the roof, especially here in the Lower Mainland. Transportation obviously key, but how do we do it to curb the cost to us, to our families that are just trying to get by?
Well, and I think transportation is a key issue to that. I think the better term, and you just actually said it, is affordable living. It's not unaffordability of this or that or traffic or housing. We got to look at the whole picture. So building high density near transit stations so that someone can live without a car is more affordable living. You might not have the white picket fence and the grass, and you might have a condo, but that's a trade-off that people are going to have to make as we go forward. We see that all over the world, and as we become this metropolitan city around the world and people want to move here, whether it's from across Canada or across the world, we're going to start to see as we grow up into this metropolitan, diverse community.
There's so many over the last few years, my friends included, they've taken, their homes in Vancouver, sold them, and made the big move for more affordable living in Port Coquitlam. When you think about that there may be new people thinking of moving there, what do you want them to know about your city?
The number one reason why people move to Port Coquitlam is the environment. We're surrounded by rivers. We've got the mountain, Burke Mountain, right behind us. Pitt River, Fraser. Yeah, we have bears that come with it, but you know what? That's not new. When I grew up in Port Coquitlam and went to elementary school there, and there would be an announcement like, "Don't go home through Poco Trail today because there's a bear down there," so you'd go home another way. As we as humans can do a lot to affect the amount of bears by locking up our garbage and other things. But it's the natural environment. The other thing that people love about Port Coquitlam is we've still maintained that small town charm. Even though we're 60,000 people, we've got a cute little downtown core. We're not 1 degree of separation now, maybe we're 2 degrees of separation, but we feel that small town charm.
Well, with that small town, Charmin, 60,000 people, how do we up female representation on council and possibly see a female mayor, knowing that you're not going for re-election this year?
Yeah, it's one of the anomalies we have in Port Coquitlam. We've never had a female mayor. We've never had more than one woman serve on council at a time. I think hopefully that changes. Hopefully our electorate decides that we have some, and I know we have some good female candidates thinking about running, and a lot of us are encouraging them and telling them we'll help them with whatever they need. And hopefully we get a lot more running, and our community goes, you know what, we need to have not only gender balance but race balance. We need our council, whether it's in Port Coquitlam or anywhere, to represent who our community is.
Mayor Moore, we got to go to break. If you could put it into one sentence or two, why are you not running again?
I never dreamed of being a career politician, so I've served for 10 years, and my wife and I have really loved the experience, and we're really passionate about that someone shouldn't be a career politician, that we should allow others to come in and bring their ideas forward, and that probably builds on the success we've had to make a better community.
Well, all the best for you and your family. Thank you so much for joining us. Mayor Moore from POCO. Coming up, Breakfast Television continuing.